We'll get started in
I think
about.
we can go ahead and get at this point in time. So, sorry, Kritika, I could not hear you. Apologies. So with that, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce our speakers real quick. One is Dr. Kritika Hornbeck. She was just previously speaking, and she's spoken a few times on this committee thus far. And then Dr. Ricky Luking is also going to be helping tag team this project on a new initiative that we have here coming to MUSC. And then later on in the presentation, we'll have one of our residents kind of demonstrate some of the things, Dr. Lindsay Long. So with that, I'll go ahead and take it away.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to lead this. I'm going to talk for a minute or two, and I'm going to lead this slide up. So if you weren't on earlier when we said it, use this QR code to download the Firstline app, which is what this presentation is about. And so we'll go through cases and we'll demonstrate the app. This is something we're really excited about. This will be a different educational series, but I think it's one that's exciting and that we're eager to do. Basically, what we're going to do today is just tell you what Firstline is and how you can use it, and how we see this, changing our stewardship practices across the system and really unifying the system in terms of our shared goals and outlook. So again, use this QR code. It'll take you to our institutional launch page where you can download the app and select your location. It'll ask you a question or two about what your role is here at MUSC. And so probably your first question is what is Firstline? And so really it's a health platform or a health technology platform that makes clinical guidance on infectious disease topics easily accessible at the point of care, on your phone or on your desktop. And really our goal is to empower, every prescriber to make the best treatment decisions based on local guidance. And so this app is really doesn't replace our website, but it makes it more user friendly and easily accessible, so that anyone can pull it up even if they're not at a computer. And so this will house a lot of really good information, a lot of guidelines. The one caveat I will make, we've worked really, really hard to build this out over time. A lot of work's gone into this, but it's not complete, meaning there's a substantial amount of things in the app already, but all of our guidelines aren't totally finished yet. So those will be added over time. The guidelines take the most amount of time to build into the app. So there's still quite a bit on there, but there'll be more to come. Do you want to go to the next slide? Or do you want to leave this up for a bit?
We can start. I'm going to put the landing page and the app instructions in the chat so those coming in can, start downloading while you talk.
Awesome, cool. Well, this is just the title page. Basically, just went through what Firstline is. Disclosures. Kritika has the only one, but it shouldn't affect this talk. Our objectives for, we're going quick. The learning objectives for this are just to, you're fine, just to introduce the Firstline app and its features around the MUSC Health Antimicrobial Stewardship Program, and then we'll demonstrate how to to use the app to discuss diagnosis and therapy for a particular case, and hopefully have a lot of time at the end for questions and things like that. Next slide. So this is kind of our motto or our mission statement for this initiative for us, and so really it's mobilizing to defeat antimicrobial stewardship together system-wise, and really using technology and innovation to really change prescribing practices and make a difference in our system. Next slide. But quick ask for everyone. So Firstline is not free to it's free to download, but not free for us MUSC to use. And so this is paid for by a grant, but going forward we will need to demonstrate a continued need, and one of those ways is by polling the users. And so this is a very short survey, like 5 questions. It should take you no more than 60 seconds to fill out. And towards the end of the next, I guess the calendar or the academic year, we'll probably send out a post survey, kind of demonstrating the effectiveness of the app and in a way to justify to the system that this is a worthwhile endeavor and worth paying for. So if you would not mind, please fill out this survey. It's a means for us to continue this initiative.
And I put that in the chat as well.
Perfect. And so, I mean, this is, is more about, why we're doing this. And this is really just the mission of our program in general. And this is, I mentioned this in a lecture we gave the other day, antimicrobial resistance is actually becoming more and more in the public eye. There was a major CNN article on the 20th, and some of you may have seen the article it was referencing was out of the Lancet Infectious Diseases. It was a systematic review basically saying they estimate about 40 million people will succumb to illnesses due to multi-drug resistant organisms by 2050. And so as most people are aware, Joint Commission, CMS require antimicrobial stewardship, but so does, the White House. There's, task force to find ways to tackle this through drug development, but also it starts on the individual level at each facility, but each prescriber. So our commitment as our MUSC program is to, have a culture of stewardship that really has patient safety in mind, but also to affect healthcare in the future, so that we continue to have antimicrobial options for our children and our children's children. And so with everyone, because everyone is a steward, if you are a steward of antibiotics, we all win. So this is just a way for us to mobilize and work to reduce resistance together. Next slide. So as most of you are aware, just kind of as a reminder, this is our stewardship team from the central standpoint. There's 3 physicians, myself, Dr. Mills, who's a transplant ID, and Dr. Stephen Thacker, who's the co-medical director with me. He's pediatric ID. And then we have now at 8 ID pharmacists at the central level. We're excited to have Abby and Josh join the team. So now that we have full coverage across the system for ID stewardship pharmacists, which is very exciting. Next slide. And so again, just reiterating what we said, again, this is a way, not that people didn't use our website, but based on the metrics, our traffic was fairly low. So this is a way for us to get our work product, things that we work very hard on, our guidelines, our antibiograms, in front of people in an easier way. I can't tell you the number of times people tell me that they ask that we even have an antibiogram, they're just not aware. So this is hopefully a way that we can get this into all providers' hands, pharmacists, physicians, residents, students, et cetera, et cetera. And as a way for it to do it across the whole system. Next slide. So the goal, and this is Firstline kind of touts this as one of their benefits is they're able to track analytics and guidance viewing and prescribing habits in addition to the data we have. And so the goal is that people make better prescribing decisions for their patients that lead to better outcomes. We reduce our resistance rates, minimize adverse effects, and then saving, our ID team is already heavily utilized and overworked. So hopefully, this app can help with some clinical decision making for simpler cases. Next slide. So how it works, this is not a cookie cutter type thing for our system. So each entry in this app has been either written or customized by our central stewardship team. So, we share information from other sites, but it's completely customized to our own guidance and our own local resistance rates. So again, and it's can be updated in real time. So this will be up-to-date information. The other nice thing about this is we can push notifications out. And sorry, there's someone waxing the floors near my office. Hold on. We can push out notifications on drug shortages, updated guidance. For example, things with a blood culture bottle shortage, we can push through this so everyone can get real-time information. And this should be accessible at any place, in the hospital and clinic, et cetera. And the nice thing is for our users, it's free. Next slide. All right, I'm going to pass the baton over.
Hi,
So you're
everyone.
ready?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay, perfect. Yeah, just tell me when you want me to advance, and I can also play the recording whenever you prompt me.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Lindsay. I am one of the PGY1 residents that is currently on rotation with the ID Stewardship team. And we're just going to walk through a case study quickly just so everyone can kind of get a feel for how the application works and kind of where you can find some information. So first, our patient is a 65-year-old male with type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and hyperlipidemia. He's been feverish for a few days, week, and has been having to go to the bathroom more frequently. He has a fever and flank pain. His vitals and lab values are there, and he has no current drug allergies. So we can go ahead to the next slide. So first, we always start, of course, with our diagnostic workup. We had determined that we would order blood cultures, a UA, and a urine culture. So our next slide has some of our information on what those showed. So our patient was empirically started on vancomycin and piperacillin tazobactam. They grew gram-negative rods in the urine and in the blood, and it's speciated to our Klebsiella pneumoniae with no resistance markers detected. So if everyone wants to pull up their app, then we can follow along. We'll go through kind of the steps you can take within the app and kind of where to find some of this information. So first, you can go to the adult guidelines, and we can go to our gram-negative bacteremia guidelines, and it includes some exclusion criteria, and additional information about gram-negative bloodstream infections, how to treat them, mortality rates, and then what is actually considered an uncomplicated gram-negative bacteremia. So all of these would need to be appropriate to be able to use this guideline. So we can go straight into the treatment algorithm, and this will answer a list of questions to prompt you to determine if this is an uncomplicated infection, if it's an AMP producer or not, and then if there were any resistance markers detected, which ours didn't have any. So then it recommends that we start ceftriaxone, and then it comes up with a lot of information about ceftriaxone, and it'll go to the spectrum of activity, what organisms it does cover and does not cover. And then you can also go into our antibiogram. So all of the antibiograms for all the different MUSC locations are in this. So you can pick whichever one that you're associated with. We'll go right into the Charleston antibiogram. Charleston, I'm sorry. And then you have a list of all your species. And you can click on it, and it will tell you your first-line treatment for that particular bug, and then even alternate treatments as well. And then we also have dosing information. If you go back, dosing for all of our different indications, and then we also have pediatric dosing here as well. Even though we went through the adult guideline, we're still within the ceftriaxone bucket. Okay. And then that was all for that. Does anyone have any questions about that so far? No. Okay, we can move on to the next one. So, oh, sorry. So our patient is now clinically stable. We started them on ceftriaxone. They're ready for discharge. So we need to determine our oral options, what kind of dosing we're looking at, and our treatment duration. Okay. So we're still under our gram-negative guideline, and we can, and we can go through our selection of our initial therapy. We know there were no resistance mechanisms and no AMP-C production that we're aware of as well. And we can determine like our suspected sources and potentially where this is coming from. There's also questions about investigating our source. So is this a catheter-related infection? What should we do if it is a catheter-related infection? Making sure that we're getting imaging and things as well. Just kind of really going through the whole checklist. And then assessing our clinical response. So our patient in particular was getting better after 72 hours. So we're ready to begin our transition to oral therapy. So here's our patient. It lists all the medications that have high oral bioavailability and that are appropriate for treatment for this infection for our patient. So our preferred are Cipro and Levo and Bactrim. And then there's also other highly bioavailable beta-lactams that are potential options, but may not be preferred options. And then also duration of treatment is listed on here, total duration of 7 days. And yeah. That is all. So it's pretty user-friendly. There's a lot of different ways to get to the same thing, like bugs, drugs, and the antibiogram. So it's really however works best for you in using the app and what makes sense for you and your patient. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Lindsay. That was really helpful. They designed the case and helped us walk through the recording. So I hope that that was helpful for everyone. And I'll just point out some differences between the website and some additional features as well. So some things that we really appreciate about this app were the push notifications. This has become very important for us as a system MUSC stewardship team. We've got shortages almost every day, and each facility has various ways to handle it. However, when we are rolling out our restrictions and monitoring these shortages, we'd like to get the word out as soon as possible and to the largest possible audience. So something that we really appreciate is that the stewardship team is able to send a mass push notification out if there is a critical shortage. So anyone who has the app downloaded can be notified of critical shortages, restriction updates, etc., and any other notifications that we would like to send out. So, a perfect example would be with the blood culture bottle shortages, we would have been able to utilize the push notifications. A user can also bookmark specific guidelines. So if you find yourself, utilizing the gram-negative bacteremia guidelines a lot, you're able to bookmark that. If you are utilizing pediatric guidelines a lot, you're able to bookmark those so they can stay on the user's favorites tab. So that's really cool. The search feature in the app and on the website is also very helpful. MUSC has done its best to be inclusive of all diagnostics. Infectious diseases are antibiotics and antimicrobials that match our formulary, but there might be, disease states or guidelines or antimicrobials that you come across that may not be in our library. You're able to have access to all the libraries or all the institutions that use Firstline. So I often will, if I have a question, I can just search that question or search that drug and see if any of the other institutions who are utilizing Firstline have any recommendations or differences in our guidelines. I think this specifically was super helpful for the stewardship team in comparing and contrasting what we had, and even combining some of the guidelines and best practices from other institutions. And then the connect portion, which is the bottom right, it's coming soon. We're working on that. That's pretty much sort of a community aspect of Firstline where users can have send out specific questions, have dashboard postings, etc. So think of this if we utilize Vizient listserv as an option. So this would be sort of like a Firstline listserv that you can collaborate with, ask questions for specifically Firstline users. So our team is working on having that. This will probably be one of the last things we do as we get a little bit more users on the app to be able to be on the Connect site. And then just a plug-in for really having what Dr. Luking mentioned. This was brought to you by an internal grant, and we hope to be able to really increase accessibility and usability of all the hard work that goes into making and creating these guidelines and with patient care. So we're really hoping that you can spread the word, show your care team members how to utilize it. Like we mentioned, we're in the process of loading more guidelines that we are developing, so it'll be more fully fledged out by the end of the year. But really looking forward to you guys sharing with your colleagues, using it, discussing questions and treatment recommendations. And additionally, please let us know if something could be improved or user friendly. We're happy to discuss it with the Firstline team. They're very welcoming of any changes and improvements that we can make. And that is our presentation. Here's the QR code again if you haven't downloaded the app. And we will take any questions.
Thank you all for giving that a great presentation. I wanted to point out one more thing, and it might have been mentioned briefly, but it's a aspect of the app that I think is really useful, where we went over obviously the guidelines, the antibiograms. There's also an antimicrobial section, which was mentioned, where you can see dosing. But what I think is really nice to have is the pathogen section, where if you look right here, if you click on pathogens, there's about 60 different pathogens. And I know bug drug coverage is always so difficult to learn and remember, and there's so many organisms and so many drugs. But if you click on this pathogen section, for instance, if I clicked on Acinetobacter baumannii, it links to antibiogram data, but also gives you Firstline options and also alternative treatment options too. So hopefully that'll be a good resource for some of you out there.
Any other questions? Any comments? We appreciate, any feedback as we're kind of working through launching this. We will be having our local stewards at each location do some more in-person demonstrations and in-person discussions. So for Charleston, we look forward to talking with our residents, our physician team members, as well as our pharmacy colleagues at staff meetings. Our pharmacists at the regional sites, we've also got our stewards there who are going to be providing this information in person to various members. So please, any feedback would be appreciated, and we hope that this is super helpful versus trying to get to the intranet.